skip this part. Something just happened inside your brain. You decided to keep watching. At least, that's what it feels like. But what if I told you that your brain may have made that decision before you ever became aware of it? Not seconds before, milliseconds. And if that's true, then we have a much bigger question to answer. Who or what is actually running the show? Because neuroscientists have spent decades discovering something deeply unsettling. Your brain is constantly explaining your decisions. That doesn't mean it's constantly telling you the truth. Imagine this. It's 2 in the morning. You walk into your kitchen. Without thinking, your hand reaches for a glass of water. Simple, ordinary, your choice. Or was it? Most of us live with the feeling that we are the author of our thoughts. First comes consciousness, then comes the decision. That's the story we tell ourselves. That's just one problem. Your brain doesn't always follow that script. Back in 20th century, neuroscientist Michael Gazzaniga began studying split brain patients. Those were people whose 2 brain hemispheres could no longer communicate normally. The experiments that followed would completely change how scientists think about consciousness. Here's one of the most famous examples. Researchers secretly gave one side of a patient brain a simple command, walk. Nothing more, just one word. A moment later, the patient stood up and began walking away. Then researchers asked a very reasonable question. Why did you get up? And something extraordinary happened. The part of the brain responsible for language had never received the command. It genuinely didn't know why the body was moving. So what did it do? Did it say, I don't know? No. It immediately created an explanation. I wanted to get a soda. Smooth, logical, completely believable, and completely wrong. The patient wasn't lying. That's what makes this so fascinating. They believed it. Their brain had quietly written a story to explain something it didn't understand. Michael Gazzaniga called this phenomena the left brain interpreter. Think of it as your brain's press secretary. Its job isn't to witness everything. Its job is to make everything make sense, and it works over time. Right now, your brain is taking billions of pieces of information and stitching them together into something that feels like one seamless experience called me. It's remarkably good at its job. Maybe a little too good. Here's the unsettling part. The left brain interpreter isn't something that happens only in laboratories. It's happening every day. When you suddenly dislike someone and don't know why. When you buy something you absolutely didn't need. When you convince yourself that procrastination was actually strategic planning. Your brain hates unfinished stories. If information is missing, it fills in the blanks. Not because it's trying to deceive you, because uncertainty is uncomfortable. Stories are easier to live with than chaos. Think about your favorite movie. Imagine if halfway through, none of the characters have motivations. Nothing connected. Nothing made sense. You would walk out of the theater. Your brain feels exactly the same way about reality. It would rather tell you a convincing story than leave a blank page. That's why narratives are so powerful. They don't just entertain us, they organize our lives. In many ways, we don't merely consume stories, we become them. And suddenly, something strange begins to happen. The person who broke your heart becomes a lesson. Your biggest failure becomes part of the journey. The random moments in your life become meaningful chapters in a larger plot. Sometimes that's beautiful. Sometimes it's dangerous. Because stories don't just reveal who we are, they determine who we become. Here's a question most people never ask themselves. How many of your beliefs are conclusions? And how many are explanations created after the fact? Why do you like certain people immediately? Why did you choose your career? Why do certain fears feel so real? The uncomfortable answer is that consciousness may be arriving later to the conversation than we would like to admit. Not absent, just late. Before this becomes depressing, there's something incredibly hopeful about all of this. The goal isn't to stop your brain for creating stories. That's impossible. Stories are part of being human. The goal is becoming aware that they are stories. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates choice, and choice creates freedom. The moment you can say, that might be true, but it might also be my brain's favorite explanation, you have already gained something most people never will: perspective. So here's something I would like you to try today. The next time you feel absolutely certain about something, pause for 5 seconds. Ask yourself one simple question: what if there's another explanation? That's it. No complicated psychology, no meditation retreat required, just curiosity. Because sometimes the most intelligent sentence you can say isn't "I know," it's "I wonder." And now we come back to the question from the beginning. Who decided to keep watching? Was it you or your brain? Both. Neuroscience doesn't give us all the answers, but it does leave us with better questions. And perhaps that's the point. You are not a machine trapped inside a story. You are the only creature we know that can stop outside the story and examine the narrator itself. And once you have noticed the seam in the magic trick, you never completely unsee it. If this changed the way you think, even slightly, don't rush back into autopilot. Pay attention to your next decision, then the one after that. You may discover that understanding yourself isn't about finding all the answers. It's about asking better questions. And that's where the real story begins.